Welcome back to the Kirk Miller Podcast. Today I have a fantastic entrepreneur as a guest, Ben Davis, founder of Fitness Marketing Agency. And the reason I wanted to get you on today, Ben, was to unpack your entrepreneurial journey, what's made Fitness Marketing Agency the success it has, but also, and I know this might seem like a repetitive theme to some of the most consistent listeners, Ben, one thing that I totally respect you is how you also juggle the balls in life, which is health, kids, and all these different things. Because one thing I'm trying to do with the podcast is not just add value with health and fitness, but also unpack some great entrepreneurial stories. But also, because I think it's a huge problem in the world of entrepreneurship, how do you still stay at the top of your game physically, mentally, emotionally, whilst running a business and a couple of young girls to think about. So firstly, welcome to the Kirk Miller Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Kirk. Cheers.
Awesome. Right, let's just get straight into it, mate. For people who don't know who you are, how do you introduce what you do?
We, in short, do meta ads for fitness business owners. We're currently serving over 430 plus providers of fitness. So that could be physical bricks and mortar health club, gym, CrossFit box, High Rocks style facility, through to like online coach.
Like me. So just to give some context, I'm a client of Ben's now for a couple of years, and I've worked with a lot of agencies. And you're head and shoulders above them when it comes to the overall service. And
thank you.
And that's what I want to unpack a little bit today, mate. You don't get to the top of your field by chance. And for me, you've built one of the most respected fitness marketing agencies in the UK. But where did that journey start?
Yeah, well, I started in the fitness industry myself as a gym instructor, but prior.
What age are you now, just to give people some context?
41 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Yeah. So
a delayed happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. Started as a gym instructor, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And prior to that was a swimming teacher and a lifeguard.
You're a lifeguard.
Yeah. And the reason I went down that route is I left school with minimal qualifications. Super dyslexic, struggled immensely. School wasn't for me, but I was good swimmer. I was good at sports, played rugby, and just went down that route. And I was in the gym all the time as a young rugby player, trying to get a bigger chest and biceps and all that stuff back then with minimal knowledge. And would see the PTs operate in the gym, and was always intrigued, and found out they charged £30 an hour, which was back then like unbelievable. And I was like, I wanted some of that. So I did my PT gym instructor qualification at 18, and got my first job at a gym around the corner from here where we're filming this podcast for 12 grand a year as a gym instructor.
Yeah. And was that, and as part of the gym instructor, because I remember when I did a little stint many years ago as a gym instructor, like part of that was to do the check how the pool, how clean it was.
So basically you're cleaner, a glorified cleaner. You check the sauna, clean the sauna, do the chlorine levels. Basically if you're not talking to someone on the gym floor, you have to be cleaning. And but I saw it as an opportunity to get my name out there and go speak to people. Naturally, I think I'm quite introverted, so I knew I had to overcome that if I wanted to pick up clients. So back then I'd work a 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. shift, or I'd work 2 till 10, but I could PT out of hours. So that's what I started to do, start to approach people in the gym, give them corrections on exercise, try and help them, and gradually started picking up a little bit of a client base.
So you were working, you must have been working crazy hours even back then.
Oh yeah. Back then, leave the house at 5 in the morning, not get back till 9, 10 at night, weekends and so on. And that affected me playing rugby because I couldn't always train on a Tuesday and Thursday, which means I wouldn't get selected for Saturdays. But I knew that I had to persevere, and because I didn't want to be that gym instructor forever. I wanted to earn the bigger money as a PT, but to do that, it was up to me. I didn't understand advertising, didn't know how to. The only way I knew to get clients was to strike a conversation on the gym floor. And my pitch.
And as an introvert, that must be so.
Yeah, it was massively step out my comfort zone, and my pitch. I normally hang around the lat pull down machine, right? Because everyone does that wrong. And then I'd approach people and then show them a few other functional exercises, or just dumbbell exercises, and then be like, hey, if you're interested, I could do a free PT session. And then if you want to continue after that, it's I think my pitch was, if you buy 10 sessions, you get it for the price of 9 or something. I can't even remember. So,
but basically, your lead magnet, and obviously we'll talk about some more marketing tactics in a second. But your lead magnet was basically the lat pull down.
Yes, just hang, because everyone does it wrong.
Yeah. So how many years did you do personal training?
I think about 6-7 years. Just PT. I got to the point where I was just doing PT, all the time, day in, day out, and I was living at home, and I was exhausted. No social life, no weekend. Sunday was my only day off because I was PT Saturday mornings all the way up till lunchtime, and obviously I hit an income ceiling financially with trading time for money, and I was like, there has to be a better way. And it was a conversation with my mum, and she's like, if you don't leave the gym like now, you'll never do it. You've got no kids, you've got no mortgage, you've got no heavy expenses. You have to back yourself and leave the gym. And I took that leap of faith. And
so what did you do then?
Basically just went outside and started training people outside in parks, but in groups. So we launched outdoor sort of fitness group training and did it in parks around the local area. Was
that just word of mouth, or how did you? Because obviously right now, and you can talk about how our market has evolved. You've seen it evolve in the last few years, and maybe even AI and stuff. But back then, right, there was no social media. So what did you do?
So back then, so before I took the leap of faith of leaving the gym floor, I knew I couldn't just walk up to people in a supermarket and start pitching PT because that'd be a bit creepy. So I had to learn a system, a process. I had to learn marketing. So I started studying, and it's interesting because when I was at school, I hated studying. But then suddenly, when it was tied to me, a business impacting more people and making more money, I suddenly, like a light switch went off. And there's a book behind you just there, actually, that was one of the main books, Psycho-Cybernetics. That's a personal development mindset book. And so I still, to this point, struggle to read. So I always listen to stuff on Audible. I think it was Audible back then.
Yeah.
And that was one of the books that changed everything for me.
Why? Just to give people some context, so what's the book and what were the biggest takeaways from that?
Dr. Maxwell Mortz is the author.
Yeah.
The book is Psycho-Cybernetics. Yeah. So he was basically a plastic surgeon way back. I can't remember the years. And what he would say is he would basically operate on people, and then a year later, 2 years later down the line, they would still feel unhappy with how they looked, their appearance. And it wasn't to do with their outer aesthetics. It was all to do with the internal messaging that they were telling themselves. And just talks about, that and how the importance of like visualization and thinking differently. So I'd done a little bit of visualization playing rugby. Johnny Wilkinson at the time, when I was playing rugby, he's kicking all those goals for England, and he would talk about, he would visualize the kicks over the post. And I started to do the same with rugby, and then I started to do the same for business and start to visualize what I actually wanted my life to look like, because I knew what I didn't want it to look like, which was working, hitting that income ceiling, trading time for money, completely exhausted. So I started to visualize. So then I went down this road of personal development and I ended up at a Tony Robbins seminar.
What age would you have been then?
So I was still at the gym at the time, so I was trying to juggle the studies.
Mid-20s?
Yeah, mid-20s, yeah. I went to Excel in London. I think there's like 12,000 people there.
Yeah.
At the time, I think it cost like £500 for a ticket, and it was the most amount of money I'd ever invested in myself.
Yeah.
And went to that Tony Robbins seminar, and it just changed everything for me. Yeah, UPW, he still does it now.
Lisa Powell,
highly recommend it. But prior to that, I was also listening. I just had a flashback. It wasn't Audible; it was CDs. CDs in my car that had a choke. It was Escort, Ford Escort, and I used to put CDs. I had a half an hour commute to the gym, so I'd always listen to these CDs, and it was that book was on a CD. Tony Robbins, I can't remember the name of the book. It was orange, but he'd talk about how he came from nothing, and then he applied everything he learned, and he'd now fly in helicopters to his own stadiums that he'd filled and everything. And so I bought a ticket to his event. That changed everything for me from a mindset perspective, and gave me permission probably to have success, and don't be this story that teachers have wrote you off, or I'm dyslexic, I can't read, can't write. Like, you can make something of your life. So that's when I sort of persevered. So going back to leaving the gym, I knew I had to learn marketing. So I started to pick up CDs on marketing, started to study marketing, a lot of direct response marketing from the States. Facebook had just come out. roughly, and people would be consistently just posting on Facebook as you did back then. So I started to post on there about the business and started to get. I had a little reputation in the area. People, so I took a bunch of the clients from the gym.
Yeah.
They would tell their friends, and then a few years later after that, Facebook ads came out. So it was the Wild West back then. You could do anything, say anything. But I started to learn it myself. I was self-taught. So I'd put, let's say £50 in, and then I'd get, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 customers out of it and get, 5, 6, 7, £800 back. And I'm like, wow, it's just like going to a casino. But I'm winning every time. So I just basically got better and better at advertising on Facebook and then other offline methods as well. And I grew that business up. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that called Fitness Marketing Agency back then?
No. That was the physical.
Oh, that was your group training.
Group training.
And how long did you do that for?
I think that was all the way up till 2013.
So you did that for a few years, and that allowed you to train more people rather than just one-to-one.
Yes.
So you elevate your income, but then there's a ceiling to that, right? Because it's still in person.
Yes. Yeah. But I built the team, so I fell out of love of teaching fitness. So I fell in love with the business of fitness.
Okay.
So I had a team of 5 or 6. We had a little office, and day in, day out, I was basically just doing marketing and sales for the business.
Okay.
And I fell in love with that. I still loved working out. I just didn't want to teach working out anymore. Yeah.
So you did that, and then when did you realize, okay, this isn't what I want to do in terms of the small group training, the outside training?
I started taking on a few consulting clients for their marketing.
Okay.
A few people reached out to me in the industry, and then started to build a little bit of a reputation. And then I was like, you know what? Like I want to do this. This is the vehicle of choice for me to go down. Yeah. And and that's how that took off.
And is that when Fitness Market FMA?
Yeah. I had a couple of other businesses in between that were semi-successful and sometimes didn't work at all. Yeah. And then I was like, I need to go all in on this, and that's what I did.
So, just shooting fast forward to now, and we'll go back and forth in this. We'll go veer off. Sure. What makes your agency different from the rest?
Good question. I've probably never been asked that. So you're putting me right on.
Just shoot from the hip. Listen, you haven't. Yeah. To give people some context, like I've never seen an office like yours. I think the togetherness from the team and ultimately the client numbers you have. Yeah. There's not many people doing that. So you're obviously doing something different. Now I can share my 2 pence in a second as someone who is a client of yours. What makes you different, but. What do you believe makes Fitness Marketing Agency different to?
First up, like we get things wrong all the time, and we fail a lot, and we make mistakes. I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm the mecca of business and we're so great and all of this stuff. But we have had great success, and I think that comes down to a few factors, mainly from me from the beginning, like my perseverance of not settling. Like we can do better. I can do better as an individual. We can do better as a business in terms of serving the customer. Yeah. Back when we started, just that attention to detail is crucial, and that's carried on through our journey in terms of what we do. But again, look, we make mistakes. There's support tickets from unhappy customers, weekly as any growing, thriving business. As you take on more team, there's more system, but there's also sometimes more problems. Yeah. But consistently trying to raise the game, because I've been that broke fitness professional where you're looking in the supermarket and you're trying to do the maths in your head, and you don't want to ask your parents for money, and you feel like you're a failure, and you know that you've got all of this knowledge and information and power that can change someone's life for the better, but you can't just get your message out there. Yeah. And for me, I know we've changed a lot of people's lives for the better with the marketing that we've implemented for them. But I know there's tons more people out there that are struggling financially in their fitness business. They have a massive passion, they can impact more people, but they can't get that message out there. So to answer your question, really what makes us different is a few factors, the care, the attention, the passion that we have for what we do. Success leaves clues, and there's a reason we have on our website tons and tons of video testimonials, and lots of people highly endorse us in the industry. And I didn't want to just be mediocre. Yeah, I wanted to be the best. Yeah, and some people might question if we are the best or not, but we're definitely the biggest. I'm probably being a little bit self-critical, and maybe that's the introvert part of me where I don't shout the loudest, because it could be very easy for me just to come to podcasts and be like, yeah, we're the best, and there's no one else out there who can compete with us. And we do strive to be the best, but what I'm trying to get across is that sometimes we get a few things wrong.
Yeah, but for me, the big takeaway from that is, Ben, it's a constant state of improvement mentality.
Yes.
If something can be done better or quicker, you endeavor to do that all the time. And I think, again, there's no judgment, but I think maybe there is some judgment. I don't know. There's shitloads of agencies that out there now that, because people need marketing and ultimately a lot of people need paid ads, a lot of entrepreneurs jump on this bandwagon. I'm going to start an agency, and because they know there's a demand for that. But there's a big difference between starting an agency, seeing some success, and like you've just alluded to, no matter how polished your marketing is, at some point you're going to have to pivot, retest. And just from experience, I think one of the key things that set you guys apart is how quickly you try to fix something if you're not getting the results that I want at speed. It's as simple as that.
I think that comes down to back in the fitness days. Like if a client's not getting a body transformation, like you churn them out day in, day out, right? Like something's going wrong either with the way that the prescription of exercise or nutrition or the mindset of the client. So at FMA, it's the same principle. Either something's going wrong with the meta ads and we need to go in and fix it quickly, or it's the client in terms of the way that they're behaving and showing up isn't aligning with how we need them to be at the party. So we have to have a hard conversation with the client. I mean, that could be something like, we can get any business leads quick and qualified leads. But if the business owner has a bad mentality towards sales, then like they're not going to be successful. Same back in my fitness days, we could have the best programming ever, but if the client eats Ben and Jerry's and Domino's pizza like every night, then it's not going to work. So.
And ultimately, there's one thing as well, and I'm going to speak about this here. There's one thing, marketing the dream to a prospect. Then another thing, which is the onus on the client of delivering on that promise to the prospect who's turning into a client, right?
Yes. And
is that saying right? You can only sell shit once.
Yes. Yeah. And you get found out pretty quick, and people talk, right? So the world's a big place, but people know people, and you get found out, and that's helped FMA to a degree because we have a lot of competitors. We do, but a lot of them just like one man band, or there's 2 or 3 of them, and they're just they're not getting results for the clients. So then they churn clients pretty quick, and similar to yourself, we have a lot of lifers that they'll just go nowhere else because they know they found the mecca. As egotistical as that sounds, like they found the one thing that's changed their life forever, and they'll stick forever. Same as clients for Built to Last.
No, I get it 100%. In the early days, mate, and this is going to resonate with a lot of entrepreneurs because I know I've made a shitload and I do things very differently. What were your biggest mistakes and lessons when you first started, like FMA in particular? Because I've spoke to so many different entrepreneurs and business owners. I'm always curious, right? Because people see success on the front end now, or more success than failure. But it doesn't start off that way. What were your biggest mistakes and lessons when you first started FMA?
Probably not going all in.
Just add some context to that.
So when I started FMA, I also had another business that was a break-even business. So we were struggling to scale, and I should have stepped away from that one sooner. And I didn't. I was trying to juggle. It's extremely hard to juggle 2 things at once, right? And that's what I was ultimately doing. My time wasn't 50. It was 50% on this and 50% on FMA, and in the end, I made that decision to stop the other thing and shut that business and went all in FMA. So I wish I did that sooner, because FMA would have been bigger. I wish I hired quicker. I think for maybe the first 3-4 years, there was maybe 3 or 4 of us who are still here today.
Amazing.
Which is fantastic. And they've been on this journey with me. Charlie, Yanko, Janine, Toby, who you work closely with. But I wish I'd grown and hired quick and taken that risk.
What do you think was the mental block or reason you didn't?
Like we took on no investment. It's all self-funded. Going back to the personal development element that I talked about at the start of the podcast, maybe my self-belief and my own programming of the way I was thinking was being restrictive. Is that, I can't remember what book it is, but there's that great scenario or fable of like the crabs in the bucket, where like there's 8 or 10 crabs in a bucket. One climbs for freedom, and then the other crabs pull that person back down. And I was listening to other people maybe who weren't entrepreneurs, weren't business owners, but were giving me maybe through the love they had for me, but they were coming from a place of scarcity, and that was rubbing off on me. So yeah, I wish I'd hired quicker, but also trying to juggle the finances of any business. You know, like I remember you walked past it on the way here. There's a Waitrose. I remember the weekend that opened, and I went in there, and I was in my overdraft. I couldn't afford. For anyone outside the UK, Waitrose is probably one of the most expensive supermarkets versus others, and I was like, I can't afford. And this was only like, my daughter's 9, so I think she was 1. It was 8 years ago. I'd made a few mistakes with the businesses financially, and that's probably another mistake. And I couldn't afford to buy something on like a loaf of bread. Like that was tough. I had the money coming in. We had like the clients are paying you in a couple of weeks, and it was at that time, that exact moment, I couldn't afford it. The juggling not knowing my finances, like I would shy away. So the way I like to look at it is, my art, my passion is the marketing, right? Yeah. And I could just sit in a dark room all day and just like work on that. Yeah. But running a successful business, you get pulled into other things, and you have to do other things that you don't like and outside your comfort zone. And going back to school, no good at maths, and I just hated finances. And one of my good friends, Nicky Segal, he says, you're a great striker. You can make money. You're just really bad defending at keeping money. Yeah. And there'll be months where we'd hit a record month, but like minimal profit. And, so like just juggling, not knowing my financial numbers. I know I've said a few things there. So just to recap, not hiring quick enough, probably listening to the wrong people, not taking risk, and not knowing my financial numbers inside out. And to this day, I still, I like to, you remember Top Trumps back in the day, all football cards, you got these attributes of players, and it's still the same now. Finance is still my weakest, but I've now got really good, Janine on the team, like she's on the finances, a great accountant. I've got someone sits on the board and helps. And, I know that I can still work in my genius, which is the marketing. Yeah. And I've got other people to support me.
I get it. No, I can totally resonate on that. The reason I'm smiling is very much like you. I love being the charger at the front end and attracting more clients. I love sales and I love delivering and stuff. But like, I was like allergic to looking at stats and numbers and Google Docs and stuff and having those accountancy meetings. And it's like, that can trip you up sometimes, right? Oh, it's like, I remember seeing Ben on a Forbes interview, because I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins too. And I, like you, listened to all the tapes back in the day. I can't remember there was a name of all the different CDs, right, that you went through. But there was a thing that always stuck with me on a Forbes interview he did. It was like, you got asked the question, what's one of the most important things that entrepreneurs need to know? And he said, who are you and who do you need? Who are you and who do you need? Basically, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Think who, not how. And it's like you haven't got funds right at the start to like hire people to do this and this and this. But even if you have got the funds, if you're a CEO or founder, it's sort of quite handy to know your numbers inside out, isn't it?
Yeah. And there was a great book. There's a title of that, a book called Who, Not How.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a really good book. And we're saying with fitness, right? Yeah. Nutrition. So you can have the best component of one element of well-being or fitness. Yeah. But if you don't pay attention to any of the others, then you're not going to ultimately get the result. Yeah. Or if you're not going to have anyone in your team helping you with that, then you're not going to get the outcome or the transformation you're looking for. So.
Which comes down to, and I think that's why there's so many parallels in business and fitness, because you spoke heavily there about belief. Really was the thing that was holding you back, right? And that these beliefs can be shaped by conversations from our parents, from children at school who might have picked on you, or you might have been left out of a certain thing, and you shape these beliefs, and it can be the thing that makes you brave enough to make that decision, to hire, to delegate, to put some money in without no guarantee that you might get it back, or it can be the thing that holds you back for years. And it's the same thing in fitness, Ben. So many people, they've had the plan, they know they need to eat well, train well, move, sleep. Why don't they do it, or do it for a prolonged period of time? It's because they lack belief, which is shaped by upbringing
and the stories you tell yourself, and massively impacts you. And that's so true.
100%. What's your vision for the agency over the next few years? Because I know so many things can change in like AI. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next few years? But like, what's your vision for fitness marketing?
We still want to impact the industry for the better. I mentioned it at the start. We surpassed 430 plus clients who pay us, and that's all different types of fitness businesses. Yeah,
what type of fitness businesses for those?
The main stronghold is bricks and mortar personal training gyms.
Why did you specialize in that space?
So it's easier for them to have a bigger return of investment from ads, because typically they're selling personal training memberships, minimum £100 up to 800, 1,000 a month. So if they're spending £15 a day and they get one client who pays them £500 a month for the next 3 years, like the cost per acquisition, exactly. Where if you're a low cost operator independently, you're charging 20, 30, £40 a month, like you're also going to be probably spending 20, 30, £40 a day on ads. So the mathematical game is harder to get an ROI. And then Pure Gym or another massive brand open up in your town and they undercut you and they take all of your customers. And it's just extremely hard to be a low cost operator independently against the bigger boys. But the personal training gyms, studios succeed because they're charging a higher fee, providing a better serviced result. And it's coach led.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to pick your brains on as well, Ben. Certainly, having sort of been in the ad space for a long time, when did you first dip your toe in ads? What year was that?
I did Google this recently because I wanted to find out when the ads platform was rolled out by Facebook, but 2012 sticks in my head for some reason.
Yeah, so it's at least 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
So how have like the ads dynamic changed from back then to now? Because I think there's going to be so many business owners, whether they're in fitness or just general entrepreneurs, that would love to know this, right? Because speaking as someone who this isn't my bag, as much as I'm learning, and have learned from mentorships from yourself over the years of the do's and don'ts of ads, like for someone who is exploring ads in their business as a fitness coach, as a gym owner, or as an entrepreneur in general, it can be very confusing. A bit like on my turf, it can be very confusing on how do you create long-term transformation that sticks long-term, right? How have ads changed? Because I think it can be so overwhelming on what to do, what not to do. Like, how have ads changed over the last 12, 13 years?
Yeah, so it was back in 2012, 10, 12 years ago, you could just do anything, say anything on an ad. But then Meta or Facebook back then, they wanted the user to have a good experience on the platform.
Okay.
So if they went on and if I went on as a consumer of Facebook and saw an ad that was controversial or like called out an emotional belief about me that made me feel a certain way, they would ban it, block it.
Okay.
So they do now. Back then you could say anything. So, for instance, like, are you overweight? Well, if someone sees that, it's going to be a yes or no answer. But like if they say yes and they admit that they're overweight, or they might not be overweight, but then they're having a negative experience on a platform, if that makes sense.
So how tricky can that be?
So now you can't use key words like overweight, or you have to. There's ways to get around it, but we say different copy basically, and the restrictions are harder for sure. But then recently, Mark Zuckerberg, is all that free speech stuff. They've lifted a few restrictions recently on Meta. But ultimately, what I believe is Meta want people. Well, look, me, you, everyone listening to this, we go on our phones daily on social media, mainly through boredom and bad habit. We're on the toilet. And we're scrolling. We wake up first thing in the morning, we're scrolling. We're trying to go to sleep and we're on our phone scrolling. We're driving the car and we're scrolling. People just consistently just refreshing their feeds. And the job of Meta is to keep you on that platform, addicted to it, and they're doing a really good job at it. But then obviously the way that they make money is through the advertisements on there. So the ads have to give the consumer a good experience so that they do not come off the platform. So they keep on scrolling, basically.
And then just with ads as a whole, if someone is never invested in ads before, I think there's a lot of deluded people, and maybe I was this when I first asked for help on ads to a previous agency. For someone who hasn't got a clue about ads, like, and they're just thinking, I'm going to put some money into ads and I'm going to get clients. I'm sure it's not that simple. Like, what is absolutely essential to do as a business owner? And maybe let's just relate to fitness for a second before you even think about ads, because surely you have to have some things in place before you start. Well,
sales and marketing go hand in hand, just like cardio and strength training.
Yeah.
You can't just do one or the other. So, people listening to this probably are at a certain level in their career or business, and sales is just a crucial skill set that everyone should learn. And I learned it back in the day on the gym floor the hard way by missing opportunities.
Yeah.
So the reason I say sales is you could work with the best Facebook ad consultant or agency in the world, but if you can't sell, then it's going to be a waste. Now you might be selling candles, right, where there's no sales conversation needed because of e-commerce. But for most businesses, entrepreneurs, if you're selling a service, there's a sales conversation that is needed, and sales is one of the best skills that I've ever learned. The art of persuasion.
That's important, right? But how important is it if you're saying sales is that important to actually have a product
that works,
that works.
Yeah, or a service, or again, go back to candles. If your candles have no wick and you can't light the candle, then you can get returns and frustrated people because the candles don't work. Same with a product or service. Doesn't matter if you're in the trades, if you're selling fitness, whatever it is. We say it to our clients, like you can't market a turd. Like it doesn't matter how good our marketing is. People will come and people will leave if you don't provide that 5-star product service element of what you're doing, and you soon get found out, because marketing just amplifies you and your business, because suddenly you've got more clicks, more opt-ins, more eyes on you than ever, because there's a demand for what you have, most probably. So you soon get found out.
Yeah. How important is it to have strong organic platforms before you start dipping your toe in ads?
So there's debates on this, like organic versus paid and so on. For me, I choose paid every time. And I say that in the tonality of Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio. Because you can run quicker. Content marketing does have its place in the marketing ecosystem, but what a lot of people will do is they don't factor in like how much time it takes them to produce content. So you have to, unless you're a highly skilled public speaker or actress, you have to like practice the video, you have to script it out, you have to get the right lighting, the right camera. You probably have to say the video like 20 times to get the perfect cut. Then you have to edit it together, and then you have to create the words for the post, and then you have to publish it, and then your mum likes it and 2 or 3 of your best clients, and then and it goes into the content graveyard, where with a paid ad, you just film a video once, or you have a picture and then you put it out, and then you give it the money to Meta, and Meta will distribute that ad in front of your favorite people, or not favorite people, but the people that are most likely to click opt-in and request more information. And that ad will just sit in the background 365 days a year and pull clients into you. So of course, if someone then clicks through to your profile and you have no content on that page or profile, then that's a red flag for that prospective customer. So you still,
because you've got no outside trust.
Yeah. I saw it the other day. I saw a really good ad from a landscaping company.
Okay.
Like beautiful, like 3D render of a garden. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Click through to their Instagram and it's crickets. Nothing on there. So I'm like, that's weird. Like, obviously they're probably on the tools. They're too busy. They've not created some content for the Instagram. So it goes hand in hand. Like it's not one or the other. But if I had to pick, if I had to start again and I had to make 10 grand in 7 days,
what would you do?
Paid ads, because I could put a message out very quickly Meta would help me find the ideal people that are looking for that thing, who would then click opt in, and then I have the sales skills to sell that person.
How important is a lead magnet though to a cold prospect?
Great, because it gives them information. Because most people are there's in the marketing ecosystem, there's a triangle. There's people that are unaware, aware.
Can you add a little bit of context to that, Ben? Like, 'cause again, for people, like,
I think let's tie it to fitness,
yep.
right? So there's so many people walking around the streets that people are living in, and they're unaware that they're deconditioned. Mm-hmm. They think they are okay, mm-hmm. but ultimately we know if they continue with what they're doing, they're going to be going to the doctor to get medication to keep them alive potentially, and they're going to have a serious injury or illness. And if they just made a few tweaks in their step count or their nutrition, or they did some resistance training or cardio, they would completely transform their life, and they would look better, feel better, move better, and have more confidence. But they are unaware. They think they are okay. They think it's okay to vape, smoke, excess drink, have high stress levels, not look after yourself, take numerous medications from pharmaceutical companies, and they think that's the way you should live your life, which it isn't. And so they're unaware that they've got a problem. Then the next level up is people that they know they've got a problem, but they've yet to source a solution. So they know, they take off their shirt, look in the mirror, and they might have like man boobs, or they can't do up their trousers. Mm-hmm. They go to the summer holiday and they can't. They'll keep their shirt on at the beach. They're not confident in the bedroom. They lack authority in the office, in a work environment, because of how they feel, how they look, how they're showing up with their kids. They're out of breath walking up the stairs. They know all of this. They know they've got a problem, but they will still reach for the bad food. They'll still not do any exercise. They'll still find excuses to why they can't change. So they're problem aware. The next level up is people that are solution aware. So they know they've got a problem, everything I just listed, and they're actively either trying solutions or looking for solutions. So they might go and join a low-cost gym and try and figure it out themselves. Mm-hmm. They might say, oh, you know what, I need to do 40 lengths of swimming every day, or I need to do contrast therapy, hot and cold saunas and ice baths, because that helps me lose weight. Or I need to go to Turkey and have an injection or surgery. Or they're looking at all these other solutions, but they've not actually picked one. And then the last part of the triangle is people who are aware. They've picked a solution to which they think is the one to help them, and they're actively pursuing it. They know that they need to do step count, sleep 8 hours, hydration, resistance, vegetables, proteins, cardio, and they're actively aware. So just to rewind, people are unaware, people that know they've got a problem, but they've yet to act. People are solution aware, they're looking at different solutions. And then at the top of the triangle is people that are aware. I can't remember the first question you asked me to talk about that triangle.
No. So like, you've got all these different people at different stages, which then begs a question, like because I'm sure a lot of people, I've fell into this trap too. You have got these people at different stages of their potential buying journey, right? How different does your message have to be on specific ads, or like, what is it?
It was a lead magnet, wasn't it? Yeah. Because when you advertise and you put either content or paid ads out there, you're going to that everyone I've just talked about in that triangle. And it might be that you do garden design, landscaping, or you might be a fitness coach, trainer, whatever it is. And you need to, the lead magnet element is crucial, because it's a PDF download, or it might be a physical brochure through the post in exchange for an email address, a phone number, and a name. And most people will submit and give you that data to get that WhatsApp to them automatically, or it could be an email. They click it, it could be 3 pages, 8 pages, 20 pages, and it just gives them a little bit of information about you as a business. And most business owners don't even take the time to create a brochure, a lead magnet, or anything. To showcase their successes, how they work, the price, the elements of what's involved. So having a lead magnet is crucial. To a way to look at it is you got one objective tonight, and that's to eat dinner, and the only way for you to eat is to fish. and you go out on your boat and you put one fishing rod into the water, how successful are you going to be with catching a fish? Well, we don't know, because we know how densely populated that ocean is with fish. But what we do know is if you put 20 fishing rods into the ocean, you're probably going to eat tonight. And it's the same with marketing. It doesn't matter what product or service it is. If you put more rods out into the marketplace, lead magnets, information, content, paid ads, you're going to get bites. And once you get a bite, the best thing is data. Put someone's name, email, phone number, so you can then have a email conversation, a phone conversation, a WhatsApp voice note, whatever it is, and see how on that triangle, are they unaware, are they problem aware, solution aware, or are they aware? And then you can gauge how hot they are as a potential buyer, and then you can go forwards with that sales conversation.
Yeah, so the big takeaway of that is that people need to test way more and create far more free value than maybe what they're currently doing.
Yes.
Rather than just going, I'm going to chuck an ad out. People don't know who I am. But I'm going to get their details. They're going to come and sign up to me.
Let's take the landscaper scenario. So, you could, I guess, every ideal situation for a landscaping company is the 50,000 garden transformation. The ideal client, 50 to 100 grand, let's say. But like, someone might not be in the mindset that they need a full garden transformation, but they might be thinking, oh, my shed blew down. My fence blew down in the storm 2 weeks ago. I've still not replaced it. So if that garden design company put out some free information or a content video or a PDF, the 5 best sheds or fencing panels to buy if you're going to do it yourself. Here's what we recommend with 20 years working in the industry and 200 success stories, blah, blah, blah. Here's the information. Someone's going to go, oh, cool. Well, I'll make sure that I'll buy that fence or whatever. And then suddenly they're interested a little bit more. And they might not buy that 100 grand garden transformation, but they might buy something from you, but you hook them in with a fence panel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They're in your
ecosystem.
Your ecosystem, but you've met them where they're at rather than where you think they're at.
Yes.
Exactly. And then, so you spoke about, you put the ads out, you got the lead. What else do people need? Because I'm sure there's a lot more to that, and I know there is, but I want to hear it as a marketing expert. Again, if I was listening to this and I've been burnt a few times by a shit fitness marketing agency or just an agency in general, because there are so many cowboys out there. Honestly, I get so many DMs of, oh, we can do your ads and blah, 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 blah. Right? What else do people need outside of chucking the ad out there and the lead magnet as part of the funnel? What do they need?
Well, follow-up is key. Like, everyone is busy. If you look at your buying habits, my buying habits, everyone who's listening, watching this, their buying habits, you probably have an idea in your head, oh yeah, I want to buy that product or solution to help me.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, like, you haven't got round to doing it. And it could be as simple as on the checkout page, there's no Apple Pay, and you can't be bothered to get your credit debit card out your wallet and input the 16 numbers, because that takes all of 90 seconds. And you're so busy and you've got 20 million things on your to-do list that you don't bother, and then you forget and you don't buy. But a simple email reminder or phone call follow-up will massively help the conversion. I got a great example of this. So the bed that I sleep in is Simba Mattresses, the bed company. I don't know if you've ever come across them. Amazing bed. So I recently moved house. My daughter needed a new bed, and I went onto their website and I put everything into my basket of what I wanted to buy. And then I think that there was a problem with one of my kids, or I can't remember, it's bath time routine, bedtime routine. And I didn't purchase from Simba, an e-commerce company selling beds, but everything was in my cart. And they obviously knew who I was, because I must have registered for an account the first time that I bought a bed, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, next day, I get an email just saying, hey, and I was like, oh, maybe it's that standard email, like, add to cart, did you forget something? And it wasn't, it was a personalized email to me. And then I didn't respond. And the next day, I then got a phone call from this same rep on the email, and basically an incentive, like, hey, if you buy, is everything okay? Can I help you? And I actually had a question. So that was it. So one of the reasons I didn't buy is I can't be bothered to get the tools out and put together a bed and then take the packaging to the
You're
dump.
talking to me here.
And basically, I wanted to book this VIP service for an extra 50 quid. But they couldn't give me a date for some reason, so I couldn't align it with my calendar, so I didn't bother buying it. At the same time, I was trying to do bath time routine. So basically, I just had a few questions about, look, I need a date. Can you lock in a date for me that your team can come build the bed, take everything away? And he answered that question very easy. And then he said, well, if you buy today, I'll add 2 extra pillows for free into your order, which probably cost them nothing. and yeah. So like if they didn't bother following up with me, like I probably maybe gone to a different bed company, or I would have just prolonged the purchase for longer and longer and longer.
And that company misses out on the sale.
Exactly. So to answer your question, follow up is key. And then to go back to, if someone, so I highly encourage everyone to do paid ads if you're a business owner. If you've got a product or service that works and it's scalable, pay to play, you'll get more eyes and more attention. You'll make more sales for your product or service. And the quickest way to do that is to hire help, an expert in that field to help you do ads for you. But when you're speaking to agencies or consultants, which there's loads out there, look, just do your due diligence. Little things like obviously success stories, track history, speak to some of their clients. Do they offer a guarantee? What's the check-in process? What's the onboarding experience like? What's the get-out clause if it doesn't work? Is there a financial guarantee? Case study after case study. Just ask around, and normally if someone's chasing you, it's much better, I believe, when you chase a company rather than them chasing you. So maybe I'm going to confuse people a little bit. So I'm going back to the fact that you say you get so many DMs from agencies or people saying, hey, I can help you.
Absolutely.
So like now the outreach DM element of building a business is just one leg of marketing. But like you have to question, like if this person was so successful, like wouldn't I have heard of them already? Or wouldn't I be chasing them to be part of what they offer rather than them chasing me, if that makes sense? That's from a marketing element. Because if in the marketplace right now, there's a ton of educators on how to start a marketing agency. So pay me anywhere from like $3,000 up to $10,000, and I'll tell you how to create a $10,000 a month marketing business. I don't know any of them. Some of them might be really good, some of them might be really bad. But I guarantee the first module inside of their course is pick a niche. And the best niches to pick are businesses that are service-based businesses that have a churn of clients. So chiropractors, physios, massage therapists, gyms. So then suddenly there's a ton of agencies in the gym space. And then the second module of that course is do cold outreach to get clients. So, yeah.
So what's wrong with that then?
Well, they probably haven't, unless they've built a specific cold outreach team / strategy. Most of these people, they're just following a module from a course, and they have no social proof, which is the crucial element. So like, if someone cold reaches out to you and they have tons and tons of success stories, then like it's probably an element of their business to get clients, but like most don't, right? So that's the
I understand. So is there anything else, again, for someone who just hasn't got a clue about a fitness agency? You spoke about the follow-up, but what about the nurture process as a whole, right? Because ultimately, one of the things that really helps me understand just marketing as a whole is, like you've got the sand timers that you turn upside down, and you've got this sand which is full, and ultimately, what I'm trying to do for someone who doesn't know me is how quickly can I reduce that timer of someone not knowing me to liking me, to trusting me, to then potentially buying. I'm going to do that from my education of nurturing that client with providing value and touch points and attention, like you said. How important, especially with competition thick and fast, so much information out there, so much choice people have, is the lead nurture process. So providing value before people buy.
Yeah, crucial. So another great book, very old marketing book, author is Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Marketing. Highly recommend. I think the book's like £100 to buy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not many of them around. I'm looking over your shoulder. I can't see it on that bookshelf, but we do have it in the office.
So what is it again for those listeners?
Eugene Schwartz.
Okay.
Breakthrough Marketing.
Okay. So
it just talks through the principles of marketing, and the nurture process is crucial. So many. I say this to the gym owners that we look after and the online coaches, like all of you want a David Beckham free kick, meaning like you want a client that like clicks and buys within seconds, a wonder goal, a wonder client. And like the reality is like you're going to get a Messi, Alan Shearer, Gary Lineker, Ian Wright tapping goal, right? And that goal comes from a scramble in the box, right? It's the same with marketing and sales. Is like most people procrastinate when buying, like I just explained with that scenario of buying a bed.
Yeah, I've done it myself.
And most people, that nurture process is key, just to remind them, to further educate them, to make them an offer that's irresistible to get them in, and to make them aware of the problem that they have and the consequences if they stay doing the same thing. But on that note, like following up on different platforms as well. So
add some context to that.
Yeah. So, like I hate text messages. Like the only people that text message me are Domino's Pizza, because I ordered a pizza 10 years ago and I'm still on their database, and every month I get a text reminder. That's a lie. I have ordered a Domino's in recent times, but like I just hate text messages. But because it's like the bank, the NHS texts you, the dentist texts you. I don't want text messages. I don't look at them. I don't communicate with any loved ones or friends on text, right? But WhatsApp for me and for everyone listening is how you communicate. So as a business owner, are you reaching out on WhatsApp? If you get no response on WhatsApp, are you looking up the person on social media? Are you going to their LinkedIn? Are you going to their Instagram? Are you cold scraping their email and emailing them? Like the follow-up is crucial.
How much better do people need to be at marketing with the introduction of AI and ChatGPT?
Well, it's there to help you, so you can.
But how do you break the mold? Because ultimately, we've all got access to this tool, and I'm just going to shoot from the hip with this. I see a lot of people in my space. All of a sudden, they're putting these polished posts out, and I fucking know it isn't them that's written it. And if you probably ask that person to speak live on a podcast or on a stage about that post they've just written, they wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, when iPhones first came out, you send an email, it says sent from iPhone.
Yeah.
In the future, might just be like created with AI. Like might be this law that's rolled out, right? So people know that it's AI generated. Yeah. Maybe not. But look, I think everyone becomes an expert overnight, right, with the use of AI. But again, you soon get found out if you don't know, the information. Who's that? I'm trying to think of that guy, Gary Brecker, is it?
Yep.
Suddenly everyone like create me a post along the lines of like all these biohackers and and it's like your credentials, like well, it could be a life coach who's 18 years old. Yeah, create me a post like Tony Robbins with Jim Rohn with Maxwell Maltz and all this stuff, and suddenly they've got this amazing document, but they've got no proof or credentials to back it up, right? So as consumers, we have to be careful, but as business owners, it does become that level playing field to a degree. You just have to market harder, market better, and
even with ads. I mean, look, I know for myself, like you've got to up your game and go. Can you talk better than your competitors? Have you got more results better than your competitors, right? Because if we've all got this level playing field when it comes to copy and text, potentially to try and leverage some Alex Hormozy or Gary Brecker. But
like, funny you say that. So I mentioned earlier the art of persuasion. Yeah. Every entrepreneur, business owner, they probably have that ingrained in their DNA a little bit. Maybe from their upbringing, they saw a relative in their family who was an entrepreneur or business owner that had those traits, mixed with the self-belief. But like the art of persuasion is crucial to get a deal, to get a sale, to build a business. Either you're persuading a team to help you, you're persuading customers to buy from you, you're persuading loved ones to join you on the journey of entrepreneurship. So that is crucial. And public speaking, like at school, couldn't read, couldn't write, struggled to speak. In the rugby change room, I'd always probably stay quiet. I wouldn't really say anything. I was never captain. Yeah. I was a decent player, but I'd never like shout. Yeah. I'd be able to teach a fitness class, but I couldn't stand up and speak. I would always feel self-conscious. Yeah. And I think when I broke down my psychology from the personal development I did, I think it came back to school. So in school, I don't know if I still do it now. My daughter's never mentioned it, but when I used to go to school, and the school I went to, you used to have to stand up and read, and then I'd read, but I couldn't read, so I'd start stumbling words, and then people would laugh, and then I'd feel self-conscious and go red in the face. So basically, that trait for public speaking. So the first time I was public speaking for my business, the same thing happened. I couldn't get my words out. Even I could teach a fitness class to 30 people. I couldn't project my voice, and I'd always walk off either stage or out of a room like disappointed. So I invested in getting some help with public speaking with a guy called Richard McCann, and this was maybe 15, 18 years ago now, and he changed me as a speaker and my life, and I've sent a lot of people to him because persuasion, sales, public speaking is crucial for any business owner. And now, we hold events with 200 people, lights, smoke, cameras, all the jazz, and I can just get up and speak freely. And but that was never the way previous, because I had lack of self-belief. I had bad patterns of behavior towards public speaking. I made it about me and not about the audience.
I've been there.
But in repetition, just got better and better. Just with every element of running a business, right, and marketing. Yeah,
but you've invested. I mean, I'm exactly the same. I've got a communication coach, Ben, and I thought I could talk well until you actually speak to an expert who that's their thing.
Yes.
But I think that skill has become even more prevalent, not just to sell, but I mean, the big takeaway for that is, and any business owner will resonate, there's one thing knowing what to say, but if you don't know how to say it in the right tonality, with the right impact, then people aren't going to believe what you say, whether it's a team member, whether it's a client, whether it's family, friend, client, it doesn't matter, right? You need to have that skill of, can I make someone believe what I want them to believe, or get them to feel and do something I'm asking them to do? And I think that skill is absolutely essential. Well, I've spoken about this before, Ben. The reason I think a lot of coaches don't want to do that, and I'll put themselves in my field, is there's no immediate benefit. There's no immediate value or money that's going to go, okay, if I learn how to speak well, I'm not going to get money for that straight away. I mean, I've been doing that for years. I see a communication coach twice a week, and I can still talk. I speak on major stages, but I'm still learning on this because I know there's so much I can get better at.
Someone we know who used to be in the industry is more personal development now, Paul Mort.
Yeah, I know.
He was on the podcast, and he said it's instant gratification. So if you do an Instagram post, suddenly you got 20 likes, 50 likes, 100 likes, whatever, comments. You send an email to your list to follow up with people, and no one responds. Like, you're unlikely to do that again and again and again, even though it does work. And it's the same with every element. I think we're all looking for shortcuts, all looking for that gratification, all looking for people to give us something back. But sometimes it's the perseverance of just continuing when no one's listening, and keep knocking, keep trying, keep pushing.
I also think as well, Ben, learning skills. I know AI now can get clones of you and all this stuff, but also learn skills that AI can't replicate, which is AI cannot physically jump into your body and speak for you in front of a stage or on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's like, just lastly on business before we touch on health, mate. What do you think are the 3 most important things to grow a successful business? As a founder, just as a founder or CEO, what do you think are the 3 most critical things to build a successful business that lasts more than a few months or a few years?
The first 2 things that pop into my head. Again, I've never really been asked this question, so thank you. I think pick the right mountain to climb, because so many people will start a business in the wrong industry, wrong niche, the wrong thing, and it's extremely hard to grow and scale and have a business. So many people say, like, it doesn't matter if you're trying to build let's say you make wedding cakes, or you're trying to start the next biggest bakery in the whole country. Like, the same amount of energy, effort, sweat, tears, blood goes into building both businesses. It's just that one entrepreneur business owner decided to do one element and one is doing another, and the payoff is completely different. So just make sure you're picking the right mountain to climb. Secondly, it's hard to do it on your own. So as sexy as it sounds to be on your own and have all these profits and massive revenues and like, it's extremely difficult, and you have to have those key team members around you to support you and help you put out the fires, or deal with the difficult clients, or do their art, whatever that is. If it's like I said earlier, like the finances or different elements of building a business. So having that team around you. So that's 2. Pick the mountain, team. And there's a great podcast that I was put on to recently by a friend, Jerome, who owns Madison's Gym next door here. And it's the Founders Podcast. I don't know if you've come across it. But basically, the guy on that interviews, so he reads the biographies of the biggest founders in the world of, you know, from the one I was listening to recently was IKEA, through to Microsoft, the most popular entrepreneurs, or not, maybe Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. He reads all their autobiographies and then he gives a synopsis on it. And they all talk about the same thing: is cost control, just keeping an eye on those finances and not letting it get out of control, and then obviously you're in trouble.
Brilliant. Moving on to health, Ben. Like, you obviously got a massive team. You got 2 young girls, right? What age are they?
9 and 6.
9 and 6. And I can relate to this now as a father. I had to a little girl too, and all of a sudden I've noticed a difference in.
Have you talked about it on the pod yet?
No.
Some people might not.
No. So literally, just to give some context, 3.5 weeks ago, I had my first little lady, Gigi Miller, and it's an incredible feeling. But already, as an actual father now, I know that, or can relate to any listeners even more, and certainly yourself, Ben, that when you've got a little human who needs you and who you care and you love, routine and energy becomes even more valuable. What do you do to look after yourself around business?
It's not always been plain sailing. I think, so I played rugby all through 20s into early 30s. And I had that rugby mentality of big weights, eat carbs, drink at the weekend. Either your body was broken until Monday or you had a hangover till Monday because you go out Saturday night. And that was basically my routine. And then when I stopped playing rugby, I basically, running the business, I think my weight went up to 110 kg.
What are you now?
As of this morning, I was 97 kg. But I've, on Sunday, so we're filming this, today's Wednesday, I did the Paris Marathon. So I've just eaten excess for that. But I got down as low as 92 kg, but I think I sit good at like 95.
But you were heavy. You lost your way a little bit, is what you said.
Yeah. I lost my way. We're trying to build the business, the kids. I showed you that picture before we started, and maybe I'll send it across to the editor and we flash it up. Yeah,
explain the picture for those.
Yeah, so this was me. This is Maisie. I think she must have been under 1. I think her mum needed to sleep or pop out. I was working from home, stand-up desk. I got 2 screens, laptop.
And she's on your chest.
Yeah, right? One of those carry cot things on your chest, and I think she was asleep or she was just watching the computers, and I was typing away. And the mum came back, took a picture, but and basically I didn't have any structure. Like the business was priority and everything else was second, even maybe the family, and then lastly was my health.
And that's going to resonate with so many people. And there's no judgment, but if this was you, please listen.
Yeah, and I put all my blood, sweat, energy, tears into the business to grow and scale, and I had to do that to a degree. But the side effects of that were obviously my fitness. I wasn't working out. I had the equipment in my garage. I had some really good black box gym equipment. I had the erg bike, the Airdyne, the ski erg, the weight barbell, the kettlebells, the box, everything. I just wasn't using it, and I wasn't walking.
But when was the tipping point where you thought, shit, this needs to change? Because I get it. Sometimes we have to pivot, and I think anyone who says you get optimal balance as an entrepreneur is full of shit, right? But when did you realize, literally going all in on business and parking health to the bottom of the barrel, when did you realize like something's got to change?
A couple of things. I saw a picture of myself and I was like, shit, I can't believe I've let myself get to that. Secondly, I was telling myself that I was still living as a rugby player, but I wasn't playing rugby. So I was telling myself a story. Oh, I'm a big guy. I'm a rugby player. I said, okay, I can eat whatever I want because I'm going to play rugby at the weekend. But I wasn't playing rugby at the weekend. And probably hanging around the likes of people like you and some others, where I was like, shit, like these guys are successful business, look shredded. Obviously they're doing something right and they're prioritizing their health and even recently, so we've done a couple of workouts together, and I've taken, even though I've lost the weight, I've taken inspiration from that, because I'm like, fuck, like you're like so strong. Like I've always been like strongest, if that makes sense. So like on a back squat, a deadlift, a bench press, I'd always beat, like I used to do a lot of CrossFit. I'd be really bad at the gymnastic element of CrossFit. And looking back, CrossFit is not my I have to be careful what I say. My beliefs around CrossFit, it's not good for me, because when I was doing CrossFit, my nervous system was already stressed that was it. So I was always getting ill, but I didn't know why. And looking back, I think it's because I was stressed, and my nervous system was wrecked. I was then doing high intensity exercise that would wreck it again. I was then just eating whatever I could because I felt so depleted. I then had broken sleep because of the young family and stress. And a consequence of all those things mixed together leads to weight gain and unhappiness and low energy and et cetera, all the bad things that come with that. So so at the time I thought CrossFit was the best thing to do, because I love the CrossFit element, because it's similar to rugby, like pre-season training.
Community as well.
Yeah, community, try and get on the scoreboard, try and get RX on everything. But there was detrimental, I was going backwards basically because I was doing too much. And don't get me wrong, there's some really, really good CrossFit coaches, CrossFit programming, CrossFit boxers, but it's very easy just to, and it doesn't have to be CrossFit, it could be any gym, any PT, where they're lowly educated and they think that they just have to beast the client to get them the end result. So there's lots of coaches, PTs that would just like prescribe 50 burpees, 100 burpees, max effort, whatever. And so
but then they're not factoring the bigger picture of people's life. I mean, like your sympathetic nervous system was just constantly on, right?
Yeah.
And even if you're Dwayne Johnson or David Goggins, right, it's totally reckless if you're not having pit stops.
Basically.
So your energy must have been through the floor.
Yeah. And then I was early adopter of Whoop as well. I stopped wearing it recently, but and I might go back to it. But like, so I couldn't believe how bad and the alcohol on that. I was I've never been addicted to anything, drugs or alcohol, but I at the weekend had that rugby mentality. Yeah. The rugby mentality is binge drink after a game. So as I stopped playing rugby, I wouldn't really binge drink at home, but I would have enough to have a slight hangover, but be able to operate the next day. You start looking at that data on your HRV, right? And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy that's done that to me. Like four cans of lager, or a couple of gin and tonics.
So what's your advice to a business owner listening to this who has fell into that trap that you were, where it's like, okay, I've got a business to run, so I need to go all in on this because I've got a family to think about and kids to feed. I'm not sleeping well, I'm stressed, and health is an afterthought.
As cliche as it is have someone to hold you accountable and guide you and coach you and hold the mirror up a little bit. Because otherwise you put your head down and 5 years passes and then you look at a picture of yourself and you're out of shape, deconditioned, unhappy, relationships break down, whatever it may be. So like having someone there in your corner, because a lot of business owners will have hired some sort of element of mentor, coach. They might have a board member that they've got help along the way of building their business. But for some reason, when it comes to health, fitness, they overlook that, or they will go for a cheaper option, or they'll go for an option and that option doesn't get them the outcome they're looking for, but they'll stick with that option through convenience. But it's like, you're not getting what you pay for. So getting the right people in your corner, but then also making sure that you're actually getting the outcome. Because a lot of business owners, like if they were to pay for, let's say, SEO, and then they're not ranking on page 1 of Google within 90 days, you'd be having a hard conversation with that SEO company and looking for another SEO company. But a lot of business owners will hire a PT, they'll go to a gym class, they'll do some form of exercise. It might even just be on your bike at the weekend or whatever, but they won't ever potentially look to source out a better option because they're not tracking anything. There's no accountability there. In their head, it's like, oh, it's okay, I've just done a Peloton, or I'm
ticking a box.
Yeah. I am moving, but I'm also consuming 5,000 calories over one day.
Basically, is the same attention to detail on you and the KPIs of managing you like you would do with your business and things like SEO and ad spend? You know what I mean?
No, and the answer is no, because people put themselves last, right? A lot of people. It's not about putting yourself first, narcissistic, egotistical way. Like I'm better than everyone else. I need to look after myself first. But again, cliche. Get in an aeroplane, put your mask on before anyone else's. Like you as a dad, the dads listening to this, business owners listening to this, are you showing up the best version of yourself? And you have to have that honest answer. And I think a lot of business owners would not tell the truth, and they'll tell themselves a story of, oh, I'm that rugby player, or I'm this, that's why I'm out of shape, I've got this bad knee. And it's like, well, that knee probably could be fixed just because one physio, osteo, chiro doctor told you it couldn't, or that have you sourced out another option? And stop telling yourself these excuses, because life is short. And 10 years like that, I was talking to you earlier, my daughter's 9 now, and
you were showing me a text message, weren't you? You're saying, because obviously we're at polar ends where I'm like, I've got this little girl that's looking at me, she can't talk, and it's so cute, and you just feed in, they're sleeping. And then I look at that text message from your daughter. It was like a beautifully written message. And it's like an adult, and it's like 9 years. Just
just maybe give context. So earlier in the podcast, I said I hate text messages. I do, because normally it's from major companies trying to sell you something, and you don't want it, like a Domino's pizza. But my daughter is 9, and I recently put iMessenger on her iPad. So she's staying with my mum for a few days, and she texts me for the first time off of it, and it just blew my mind. I showed you. So life moves quick, right? And as I said, I turned 41 the other day, and it feels like I was 30 the other day. Yeah. And I think I mentioned it briefly, but I did Paris Marathon. I did it under 4 hours. That was my goal. Yeah. And I think. And
you're not, with respect, Ben, you're not a natural marathon runner, right? That's a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah. I'm a back row rugby player, and well, thank you. Yeah. So like I now need to set another goal.
Yeah. Because how many? You've done multiple Hyroxes as well. Yeah.
Hyrox.
How many Hyroxes have you done today?
About 8. I've got a Hyrox coming up in May, which I'm looking forward to. But I need something else. I need something maybe end of summer, September, to aim for, because I know when I knew I didn't want to turn up to Paris and let myself down. I was going with a few friends as well, and they were better runners than me, so I knew I needed to put the work in on the roads to not break down and complete the marathon and everything like that. Same with Hyrox, same with other things. Having that goal anchored in, and not just training for training's sake. For me, that helps. And maybe it's the rugby,
especially when you come from an athletic background. Yeah, that's right. We've got clients in Built to Last, very similar principle. First and foremost, we're trying to transform them to get their body composition in a place where they're strong, they're robust, they're mobile, that they actually feel good with how they look. But then after that, it's like, what's next? And I think having a performance target, like many of our clients do, similar to yourself, they'll dive into Hyrox and go, right, okay, this is a yardstick now to get even fitter. Make sure I'm never off it, right? So you're continually setting these. And what I love about Ben as well is, I'm right in saying you've done multiple Hyrox doubles with members of your team. So maintaining that health culture within your company, right, seems to be really important too.
Yeah, we pay for gym membership for the team, and obviously we attract, in terms of staff members, people that have an element of fitness interests or fitness backgrounds. So yeah, I like having that, little incentive. Come and do Hyrox with the boss. And yeah, like we've been, I've been to Italy, done a few in Birmingham, London, etc. And yeah, for anyone who's not done a Hyrox, highly recommend it. It's very accessible. Definitely train for it. The first ever Hyrox I did, terrible. Didn't train for it for various reasons, but yeah, like
it's bad enough if you do train for it. I found out with a few different cramps. But I think what's admirable with yourself, Ben, is you're leading from the front as a founder. Because if we're trying to get the best out of people, we can only do that if we're showing up as the best of ourselves more often than not, right? And it's something that I echo inside Built to Last. I would never hire an unhealthy team member. Like you don't need to be fit. You don't need to be ripped. Sorry, you don't need to be like a gazelle or a cover model or anything like that. But like, you cannot perform at your best if you lack in energy. You can't.
Yeah, agree. And going back to what I said right at the start of the pod, like I'm not this perfect business owner, entrepreneur, and I've made tons of mistakes. And like, can I show up even better as a dad, as a business owner, as a leader for the company? And the answer is yes. And I'm trying my best every single day, and will continue to try and take things to the next level, either business wise or personal.
Just I always like to, as we sort of come towards the end of this, Ben, I always like to specifically break down the routine, or some form of routine. Like I spoke to you about this before we jumped on the podcast, knowing that right now I'm in this transitional phase of having to adapt my routine because I want time with my daughter in the morning potentially, and or certainly in the afternoon. You know, I'm still figuring it out. Do you have a specific weekly routine that helps you get your sessions in, dedicate ample time to business, and also time with your girls? Like, what's a typical routine?
Yeah, I think it has been a little bit different recently because I was just running lots for the marathon, but prior to that. But on that note, you've probably seen the viral videos of Ashton Hall with the ice, head in the ice bucket.
No, I haven't.
You've not seen it?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay, so well, they're funny, but they're amusing. I have to show it to you. But anyway, my routine's not as dialed in as his. And it's very easy. You see podcasts of people and they're like, I wake up at 4 a.m, I do this. Like, if I'm honest, like, my life's a little bit chaotic. Trying to juggle 2 children, the business, it's not perfect. But one thing that is consistent when I wasn't road running as much is every lunchtime I'd hit the gym.
Okay, so lunchtime you tend to train. Okay.
Yeah. So the sessions are 45 minutes. It gives me enough time to get a shower, come back. I'd train at 12. I would, as much. So looking back at the old version of me, I would miss gym sessions. I would prioritize meetings over gym. I would tell myself a story that I was too busy to go to the gym. But going to the gym at lunchtime, that 1 hour, give or take, door to door, is crucial. And that's one element of my schedule routine.
So you schedule like a work appointment now?
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, in my calendar. And obviously I have to sign in on the app. And then there's consequences if I don't turn up, and they're chasing me, holding me accountable and stuff. But that's one thing. I'm probably a trait that most entrepreneurs have. I can work till midnight and keep going. And maybe that maybe work is my addiction, my bad addiction. But getting to bed, but basically having that downtime, because what would happen is I'd go to bed, I'd pass out through exhaustion, but then I'd wake up at 2 a.m. because I hadn't switched off. You know, you probably know more about it, but the cortisol levels and all that stuff. And so now, like, having that downtime before I go to bed. And maybe this is the dyslexia, but I'm probably ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I thrive in like mess, if that makes, not like dirt, but like,
if you don't have chaos, you're creative.
Yeah, like basically, I'm not very organized. Yeah. So, but then that comes into the home life, and then my bedroom can very quickly just be chaotic. And so where I'm going with that is, getting help around the house. Yeah. And I have Lucy on the team, who massively helps me. She's
navigate your calendar.
Yeah, basically organizes a lot that helps me out. So basically, I can focus on the business and myself, and not have to do things that are a distraction or take. Where's Ronaldo's best time spent? It's on the pitch, right? And that's the highest level of elite sport. But it's the same with business. Where's my time best spent? And it's driving the team, it's creating ideas, it's working on product marketing, and it's very easy to get distracted. And as I know, there's a lot of business owners that will watch this that are operating at different levels to me, and there'll be a lot at the same and a lot under. But you have to prioritize what's most important and get help along the way.
So coming to a close now, Ben, I've got one question specifically directed at ambitious men who want it all, right? If you could give one message to ambitious men listening right now who are falling short in some way or doubting themselves in business or health, what would it be?
Ask for help. And
because I think it sounds so simple, right? But I think so many men, you try and figure stuff out yourself. And
I'm not talked about this, you privately or on this pod or anything that we've done, but I speak to someone on a monthly basis, and it just massively just helps, gives me a different perspectives, and most people hold themselves back, right? It's the internal stories that you're telling yourself, and to get to the next level, be it in body, business, being, whatever it is, you need to do something differently. Is that famous saying, what got you here won't get you there? It's the same in every element of your life, and it's walking a path that others have walked successfully, getting help from those that are ahead of you, whatever it may be, being honest and not letting ego get in the way. I think every entrepreneur has an ego to a certain element, because that's what's got us to a certain level.
Yep.
But sometimes to get to the next level, you need to deflate the ego to be able to walk through the door and have that honest conversation. Am I at the level that I want? Am I showing up how I want? Who can I get help from to take me to that next level and pay for it? Because that's how you shortcut. Yes, you could go to chat, GTP, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But to shortcut, pay, get the help needed, speak to experts. Don't try and wear that Superman cape as most men will try and do and be, and try and do everything themselves. Like, get the help needed, and then you'll get to that next level, and you'll be successful. And just be careful about who you're listening to as well, because the people that love you most potentially aren't from a business entrepreneurial background, and they'll inflict their pain, bad decisions, their fears onto you. So sometimes you have to have a hard conversation with the ones that you love most. But ultimately, just get help professionally from someone on different areas of your life to push forwards and persevere.
I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned there about AI and ChatGPT, like you can just click on the button and ask a question, right? But a lot of the time there's no value on it. And it's not a set in stone appointment that's going to hold you accountable. Because if it was as easy as I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to give me the answer to the question, or I'm struggling with this, why aren't you doing it already? The likelihood is that's another thing you put into off till tomorrow or next week. And I, like you, mentorship and people in my corner now for a long time that I pay for. It makes it real, the skin in the game, and it makes me follow through. A lot of the time when I've had, free help, certainly on mindset and health and things like that, you just, I'll do it another time, or it's just, you just keep putting off those conversations that deep down you shouldn't be putting off.
Yeah. And again, when it comes to making a buying decision, too many people will get the opinions of people that don't fully understand as well. And that is something that I've done in the past. So like if your gut's telling you to do something, to invest, to get help, just go do it. Don't go and ask 10 people that are closest to you, because they'll give you 10 different options, 10 different opinions that talk you out of it. Just jump in 2-footed and trust yourself that you'll swim to the surface and get the outcome you're looking for, and then everyone in your life will benefit.
Yeah, like you said earlier, or is it a book as well? You win or you learn either way. So just to wrap us up, Ben, where can people find you, what you do, if they're looking for help or just to explore your content more?
The main website is fitnessmarketing.agency, same on Instagram. Personal website, bendavis.online, if you want to reach out that way and connect. Awesome.
Mate, this was a bit of a meteor one than first expected, but I'm glad we unpacked a hell of a lot around marketing, because I know it's such a crowded space, and it's so confusing for someone who's trying to grow a business. So we've never had anyone break down ads in particular in that aspect of marketing.
But on that note, I speak to a lot of people. I see a lot of data. We have a lot of clients, and the work that you are doing is next level in terms of how you're helping people. So it's a pleasure to be able to help market such a great product, service, business in terms of what you're doing.
No, thank you. I'm obsessed. If you haven't realised that already, listen to this. I'm obsessed like you. If someone can be doing done better it gets done. And like you, if you're in it for the right reasons, trying to help people, I think the money eventually sorts itself out. So thank you so much for listening, guys, and please check Ben out, and I'll see you next time.
Cheers.